Hi guys, I'm Serum, welcome back to my channel. Today I show you how to make a beat for Like That by Future, MetroBoomin and Kendrick Lamar. This beat was made by MetroBoomin and BB Kobe. So let's start with the breakdown. They use this sample from Rodney U and Joe Cooley, Everlasting Bass. But in this case, we are going to recreate the whole sample using Xenology. So we are doing a full breakdown of this sample. So Metro mainly used two chops from this sample. The first one is from the intro and it's the brasses with the drums. And then he took a chop from 2 minutes and 57 seconds and it's just the instrumental. So as you can see, it's looping the first hit and then it's just using the second chop, and it's also using the first chop as a counter melody. It's just moving it a little more forward. The BPM for the song is 81 and I'm just stretching the sample to the grid using the transient of the drums, and then it just pitch it down by one semitone. So this is the whole sample. And I'm just using a little bit of compression and EQing, so I'm cutting the lows and boosting the mids. Then we also have this really famous vocal sample from Eazy-E. Didn't stretch it and it's the same pitch as the original one. So let's move on to the breakdown of the sample. They're using brasses, strings, basses and bells, and then these other elements were added by Metro, so the piano, the strings and the trombones. So let's start from the brass. I'm using the D50 Brass C from Xenology. So this is not the original preset. I think I modified this oscillator to use this waveform here from the D50. I think they used the D50 for most of the record because this record came out in 1988 and the D50 was a really famous synthesizer in the 80s. So this is the brass sound. We are in the C-sharp minor scale and they're using the 5th, the root note, the sus2 and the 3rd, and also the 7. And as you can see, they're not perfectly on grid. Then we have a string playing the same melody. I'm just using a random string from Xenology. Bells to give some rhythm. I'm using the hip-hop bell 1 from Xenology. I think this could be a bell from the D50 too, and maybe this is just a recreation of that type of sound. So it's a mixture of glockenspiel music box and organ bell, and they're just playing the 5th and the sus2. Then we have the bass. I think it's a brass played in the lower octave. I'm using two different presets. The first one is the tremolo soft pad from Xenology. So it's a mixture of different saw waves with a little bit of unison. And then I made a similar brass patch in Serum using saw waves. So as you can see, two saw waves, two different octaves. The LFO set as an envelope controlling the cutoff filter. A little bit of EQing for the hikes, unison and detune. And this is the bass line, so they're playing the root note, the sus2, the 3rd and the 4, and then they're doing the same thing in the opposite way. For the effects, I just have a little bit of chorus and EQing. So let's move on to the elements that Metro added. So we have the piano from Xenology. I don't think this is the original preset, but it's kinda similar. Just played as a layer for the bass. Pizzicato strings from BBC, violas. I don't know if it's the original one, but this sounds similar, so I'm just playing a layer for the bass on 2 octaves. A little bit of EQing, and then I'm doing the same thing with these trombones from Xenology. So this is the first preset, and then this is the other layer. And I'm really boosting the hikes of these trombones, so I have a lot of saturation, reverb, and EQing. Let's move on to the sub, really easy sine wave from Serum. I don't think you can hear this sound if you don't have headphones. So this is pretty much the whole sample. As you can see, sometimes Metro is just repeating this section here from the second part of the sample. So let's move on to the drums. Pretty simple, is layering these drums with the original sample drums. I don't think these are the original samples, but as always, they sound similar. And then a simple hi-hat and crash. I don't think that he's actually using this crash. It's probably just the crash from the sample. Then we have this Vox sample coming in. And then he's switching the whole drum for the last section. So we have a different snare, different hi-hat, different kick. And then just the sub. And I almost forgot that he's also using this other section from the sample just for this little switch before the last verse. And it's a section without the brasses, with just some scratches in the background. So this is the whole production just using Xenology. That's all for this video. Smash a like and subscribe if you liked it. I will leave all my links in the description if you want to support me. I have a Patreon page where I upload all the FLPs from remakes, Instagram if you want to follow me, and BeatStars if you want to check out my beats or drum kits. Bye and see you in the next video.